Hello, I'm Martin, and welcome to Short Stories, brought to you by the National Taichung University of Science and Technology Language Center. Today's short story is called John the Bear. This is a classic French fairy tale that has many similarities with The Gnome, a story I told you earlier. Fairy tales don't just pass from person to person, but from culture to culture too. And some version of this fairy tale exists in countries all across Europe and even West Asia. But first, I must tell you the vocabulary and example sentences. After I have read the story, I will read 4 listening comprehension questions. Allons-y. Vocabulary. Rowdy. Rowdy. The crowd at the baseball game became rowdy. Staff. Staff. The old man walked with a long staff. Be no match for. Be no match for someone. Lewis Hamilton is no match for Max Verstappen. And if there are any British people watching this video, I ask that you refrain from throwing your beer bottle at the screen. Savage. Savage. They say that music can tame the savage beast. Prevail. Prevail. The Atlanta Braves prevailed over the Houston Astros. Enormous. Enormous. The enormous elephant charged at the lion. Ask around. Ask around. I asked around for suggestions. Relent. Relent. After many years, her father relented and let her get a dog. The story. A long time ago, there was a young widow who lived alone in the forest of Brittany. While she was out cutting wood one day, she met a handsome man. He was not an ordinary man, but a skin changer. He could turn into a huge bear. The two fell in love and lived together. Eventually, they had a son named John, who was half bear and half human. When John was about 7 years old, his mother decided that he needed to learn about his human side. She took John to live in the nearest village. He was enrolled in school and baptized at the local church. John didn't really like school or going to church. He liked playing outside and fishing. Furthermore, his classmates often made fun of him because he was so hairy. The teacher didn't like him either because he was always daydreaming in class. In church, John was loud and rowdy, which made the priest very angry. It's no surprise then that John left the village the first chance he got. A blacksmith in the city agreed to train him, and John moved out. John the Bear lived and worked with the blacksmith for 7 years. At the end of his contract, he decided to move to the countryside. As a gift, the blacksmith gave him a heavy iron staff that weighed 200 kilograms. But John had the strength of a bear, so it was not too heavy for him. While he was exploring the countryside, John made 2 friends, Tord and Tranch. Both were as strong as he was. They lived in an abandoned castle in the forest and had many adventures together. One day, while exploring the forest, John and his friends discovered a ring of standing stones. Each stone was engraved with swirling patterns of twisted knots. In the center of the ring was an old woman wearing a hooded cloak. "Who are you?" asked John. "I'm the keeper of many secrets, John the Bear, and I have one to share with you," she answered. "How do you know my name?" inquired John. "What part of keeper of many secrets don't you understand?" replied the old woman. "Anyway, I must warn you. On the next full moon, you will meet a great danger." Before John could say anything, the woman suddenly disappeared. A few days later, John and his friends were sitting at the dinner table in their castle. They were laughing and having a good time when they heard a knock at the door. "Who could that be?" said John. Just then the door burst open. It was an angry giant. John and his friends quickly picked up their weapons and attacked it. The three heroes were no match for the giant. Tord died first, followed by Tranch. Now it was just John. He jumped into the air as high as he could and bashed the giant in the head with his iron staff. The giant fell to the ground. The impact was so great that it broke the floor, and the giant and John both fell into a deep, dark cave under the castle. When John woke up, he didn't know where he was. He couldn't see much either. Suddenly, another giant appeared. Unlike the first one, which was savage-looking, this one was wearing fine clothes, gold bracelets, and an ornate horned helmet. "I am Totatis, protector of the tribe of giants. How dare you kill one of my children?" John picked up his iron staff and prepared to defend himself. The fight was fierce, but John prevailed. Totatis was dead, and John could finally rest. After John caught his breath, he started looking for a way out of the cave. He found a door and broke the lock with his staff. Inside, he found a princess lying on a bed. In her hands was a golden wheel. The princess appeared to be under some kind of sleeping spell. John had heard stories like this and knew exactly what to do. He shook her and yelled, "Hey, princess, wake up!" The princess woke up and was surprised to see John the Bear standing over her. After some explanation, John asked her if she knew the way out of the cave. "Did you kill Totatis?" she asked. John said he did, and the princess said, "Good, we will need this wheel and his bracelet to get out of here." The princess put the giant's bracelet around her neck, stood on the golden wheel, and said some magic words. John was standing on the wheel too, but it was a little small. As the wheel flew through the air, John lost his balance and fell. The princess looked down at him with a sorrowful face. "I'm sorry. Once this wheel starts flying up, I can't stop it. I'll send someone to find you, I promise," she yelled as she lifted further into the air. John was alone in the dark. John the Bear wasn't the kind of person to wait around to be rescued. He started looking for another way out of the cave. He found another door and opened it. Inside was an enormous eagle in a cage. "Poor thing," thought John. "He can't be happy down here in this cave. He needs to be free." John broke the lock on the cage with his staff. The eagle was so thankful that it allowed John to climb onto its back. John and the eagle flew out of the cave and into the bright blue sky. After escaping the cave, John went back to his castle in the forest. He lived there for a few weeks, but he was lonely without his friends, and he kept thinking about that beautiful princess. Who was she? John asked around in every village he visited and learned that the princess was from Spain. She had been kidnapped years ago by a giant, and no one knew where she was. John decided that he must see the princess again. He walked all the way to Spain and entered the king's palace. The princess recognized him at once and said, "Father, that's the man who saved me. Please let me marry him." The king was not happy about the idea of his daughter marrying a man who was half bear, but he relented. The two got married in the cathedral and moved to John's castle, where they lived happily ever after. Questions. Number 1. What was so special about John's father? A. He was half eagle. B. He could turn into a bear. C. He was the keeper of many secrets. D. He was a giant. The answer is B. He could turn into a bear. Question 2. Why didn't the teacher like John? A. He didn't pay attention in class. B. He had bad test scores. C. He smelled bad. D. He was French. Although B, C, and D are probably true, it doesn't mention that those as the reasons why the teacher did not like him. The correct answer is A. He didn't pay attention in class. Question 3. How did John get his staff? A. He bought it on eBay. B. He found it in the forest. C. It was a gift. D. He stole it from the blacksmith. The answer is C. It was a gift from the blacksmith. Question 4. How did John escape from the cave? A. He rode a dragon. B. He rode an eagle. C. He rode a magic wheel. D. He climbed out. The answer is B. He rode a magic eagle. Well, now the short story today is complete, and I hope you enjoyed it. I have loaded this story up with a lot of religious symbols and characters, and if you are interested, you can Google some of them. Well, thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.